Old Hollywood people, I would not have thought you all would have taken Merle Oberon's last film and skipped it and allowed it to be the rarest film on my 2025 watch list so far on Letterboxd. But here we are. The Laredo theme deep dive is taking a sharp right turn into Robert Wolders territory today with a look at 1973's Interval. This film, for those who don't know, and it could be a few of you considering how few have watched this film, this is Merle Oberon's last film. So Merle Oberon, well known to classic film people out there, Wuthering Heights with Laurence Olivier, Scarlett Pimpernel with Leslie Howard. She was a mainstay in film, I would say, through the 30s and 40s, definitely. I personally love Hotel, the film she's in the 1960s. So this is her final film, coming out in 1973. Letterboxd calls it a May-December romance, co-starring future husband at the time, Robert Wolders. They met on this film and their relationship blossomed before they were to get married soon after. General plot is down here, easy one. A older woman, we never quite told how old she is traveling by herself in Mexico, meets a young artist played by Wolders. Sparks fly, complications ensue. As the synopsis here says, the story of a woman who finally stops running from love. I'll move my head back into the frame. People didn't seem to quite know what to do with this one in Letterboxd. Let me rephrase that and say I had a bit of a different reading. This is a Mooney film, and I am a sucker for Mooney films. I saw a lot of reviews criticizing the script, criticizing Wolders, just generally not liking anything about this film with the exception of Oberon, who is amazing, and the locations. And let me start with Merle Oberon. This was a character, especially for the first 60%, I adored. It was so nice to see a woman, especially of a certain age, just living life, enjoying herself, traveling. She's above the pity things, not letting these things affect her. And then this relationship, and they do have chemistry. Her and Wolders have incredibly sweet chemistry together. A lot of the reviews, like I said, are very critical on him, which I was expecting. I walked into this fresh off of Laredo, and he plays very much kind of a lover type in Laredo. So that's kind of what I was expecting. And he isn't a young boy. He's, I believe, as an actor, he's in his high 30s, getting close to 40 by this point. So somebody with a bit of seasoning, able to handle the more physical would have made sense. People call him very stiff throughout the reviews, and I didn't necessarily read his performance as stiff. I read his performance as awkward. This felt to me like a summer place for people of a certain age. This is Mooney. This is something Troy Donahue would have done in the 1960s. And Wolders' performance would have made so much sense to me coming from a much younger man. It felt to me like he was playing this almost like a teenager. There was some awkwardness, some reticence, an inability to show his feelings. He's very closed off for a part of this film, but this woman enters his life and just lights him up. And I thought that part of his performance was actually very well done, very beautiful. That light that starts to come into his eyes as that the second act builds, and as these two are building this relationship that they share throughout this film. And they were married for the rest of her life after this film, so there was clearly a relationship there. There was clearly a bond, and I believe it definitely shows that there's something that doesn't gel for audiences, but I did not hate what he was bringing. I thought it felt very cute and very sweet. Now, this is a hard ending for a film. And I suppose it makes sense, but the film, I don't know if I could say it lost me. I wanted a different ending. This is not the ending one would expect, one would hope for. I'm going to try and shy away from spoilers, but it doesn't necessarily work for me with Oberon's character. This is a character who has lived life and who is struggling with some things. I did leave that out. She has some caged up issues from her previous life that she's working through. But I suppose that's the biggest inconsistency maybe in the script, the fact that there's this solid, empowered, beautiful woman living her life to taking her to the end of the film. The ending her character receives, I don't know if I bought it. It's one that'll mess you up, especially if you are bought into the romantic aspect of this film. There are some triggering elements in there, so know yourself, be warned on the ending of this film, but it wasn't my favorite aspect. I would have loved to have seen this go a different way, and writer, of course, had their reasons, and May Decembers like this are always hard, especially when you're dealing with an age difference of like 25 years, which is what I think these two had. So it's also difficult to step into a film like this with a relationship vibe like this coming in 1973. So I do give that a little bit of room as well from a historical perspective. But in the grand scheme of things, I was not as harsh on this as I saw a lot of the reviews. I thought she was effervescent. I thought he was adorable. And like I said, I was expecting different things from him, so I really enjoyed kind of the light and the life in that relationship between those two throughout, the end of the first and into the second act. This is not hard to find, actually. This was on YouTube. Not an amazing copy. Very grainy. They're most clear kind of in the close-ups, so you have to put on your watching an old VHS hat to really wrap your head around it, but I didn't struggle too bad with it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me here at Piercing Cinema. Have a good one all.